On today's show, the Cavs lose to the Raptors 112-101. Team fought hard. There were some good things to look at. We're going to talk about those. Plus, Darius Garland might be back very soon. We'll discuss all that and so much more on the Saturday edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham, and I cover the Cleveland Cavaliers over at my Substack, The Inside Shot, and thank you for making this edition of Locked On Cavs your first listen, and thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. And of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube as we get started here, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5. And if your first $5 bet wins, you will get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Head to FanDuel.com today to get started. The Cleveland Cavaliers lose to the Toronto Raptors on Friday night at Rocket Arena, 112-101. And the Cavs, I did the whole hand quotation thing at the beginning, if you're watching along on YouTube, because the Cavs were without 5 of their 8 top rotation players. Obviously, Darius Garland has still not yet made his season debut. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit because I think we're getting very close to seeing that. He went through an on-court workout prior to this game on Friday night. Max Strus has not made his season debut. He is still a ways away from being able to suit up for the Cavs. Sam Merrill missed this one with that right hip contusion. Jarrett Allen could not play through the fracture in his finger that he took, I guess, on Wednesday night. It was against the Boston Celtics. And Donovan Mitchell also missed his game with a hamstring injury. So when a team is down this many guys, it's not as if the results don't matter, because as I said on yesterday's podcast, at the end of the day, the Cavs record is going to be what the Cavs record is going to be. And these games count. Like, this loss to the Raptors doesn't go away because, they were without, 3 of their top 4 guys, and they were without so many important pieces. Like, nobody cares. Nobody in the NBA is going to feel bad for them because this happens all across the league. Go look at the Pacers right now. Go look at a lot of other teams that have to deal with injury issues too. That said, it makes it a lot more difficult to win basketball games. Like, that is just the unfortunate area where the Cavs are at right now. They're in a point in the season where they're without so many players. And I do think too, the fact that this is happening so early in the year is both a positive and to their detriment. And what I mean by that is, I think if the Cavs played this game against this Raptors team, which I do not think is very good, I just don't think Toronto's a good basketball team. I know they didn't have Jakob Poeltl in this game. He was their only regular not available. I don't think the Raptors are good really at anything. Like, the fact that I think this game being as close as it is probably says more about Toronto than it does about the Cavs. But that's a different story for another podcast. Like, go listen to what Sean Woodley has to say at Locked On Raptors. I'm sure he disagrees with me on that, but I just don't think this Raptors team is very good. But if the Cavs play this game 2 months from now, I think they win it without all of the players that they like. Just say the same guys that missed this game, missed that game 2 months from now. I think the Cavs find a way to win that game because I think they're in a bit of a different rhythm. I think that having to deal with so many injuries at an early junction in the season is a more challenging thing, because not only do guys not necessarily yet know how to play together, because the Cavs are incorporating a lot of new pieces into this rotation, in large part because of the guys that have been out, but they also haven't found their rhythm yet. Like, if they played this game in December, I think they find a way to win it. I think Evan Mobley is probably a little bit better from the jump, and he was very, very good, I thought, in the second half. I think Jaylon Tyson probably is a little bit more consistent throughout the game. I think Lonzo Ball, it gives you a better effort in December than he did on Halloween. Not to say like the effort wasn't there. Just better performance is a better way to phrase that. But I think that this is a game that will help the Cavs grow. It will help build trust within that locker room for some of the role players that are thrust into bigger roles on nights like this, because, expecting Jaylon Tyson to play 33 minutes and be effective for all 33 probably a bit too much to ask of him at this point in his career, but that was what was asked of him on Friday night. Asking Tyrese Proctor to play 15 minutes and be effective, probably asking a little bit too much from a second-round draft pick. That's a rookie. Asking Luke Travers to play 14 minutes in an NBA game that counts, asking too much of him. Like, he is not that type of player at this point in his career. That's what the Cavs had on Friday night. And you have to go to battle with who's available. And I thought the Cavs fought very hard in this game, and they should certainly be proud of that. Ultimately, the result is what the result is, and this is a loss in a league that you are judged on wins and losses. And as I said, that doesn't go away just because they tried hard. That doesn't go away just because they were missing so many guys. Like, no, they will always have this loss on their final record, but that is a thing that I think ultimately is okay. I am choosing to look at this from a positive point of view because I do think that the Cavs figured some things out on Friday night, some things that had been missing, if you will, or maybe not missing, maybe just not up to snuff so far in the season. And the first thing I think of with that is Evan Mobley. And in the first half, thought Mobley was okay. I think he scored 8 points in the first quarter. I think he had 10 or 11 at halftime. Like, Evan was fine in the first half. He wasn't a bright spot. He wasn't as good as I thought he should have been. And he had those 10 points because he hit a couple of threes. In the second half, I thought Evan Mobley looked offensively the way that we should be expecting Evan Mobley to look. You know, maybe not the same output. Like, Evan is not going to ever average 29 points a game on a team that has Donovan Mitchell. Like, the opportunity is not there. He should be capable of doing this now and then. But I thought that the play that we saw from Evan Mobley is what the Cavs need to see from him more frequently. I thought he was aggressive. I thought he did a great job of getting to the basket. I thought that instead of settling for mid-range jump shots, and I don't have the tracking data yet, but I would love to see, because his average distance from the rim on his field goal attempts is so much further away than it was in previous years. And on Friday night, it felt to the naked eye, again, without having the tracking numbers available as I record this, it felt like he lived so much closer to the basket. And that is something that the Cavs need. That is something that has been missing from them offensively. And part of that, I do think, is the fact that they've been playing without Darius Garland. I think part of that is they don't necessarily have a ton of dribble creation right now, not just with Garland out, but I think Max Strus is somebody that provides that a little bit too. So I do think that those things have directly impacted Evan Mobley and what he's been able to do offensively. But I thought that he really took command of this game in the third quarter. And that, to me, is the biggest bright spot to take away from it, because Evan Mobley looked the way that we expect Evan Mobley to look. And what is now important, as it is after a win, after a loss, if you've been listening to the show, I think you kind of know that I view these things as like the process is what is important. But I also always view it as the response is what is important. How does Evan Mobley respond from this game? Does he go out on Sunday and have a game that is similar to this one, where the Cavs could realistically be without all the same guys they didn't have on Friday night? I don't know who's going to be available on Sunday. Maybe Donovan Mitchell's back. Maybe Jarrett Allen's back. Maybe neither of them are. Maybe Sam Merrill is back. Maybe Darius Garland is back. I don't know the answers to any of those. I know Max Strus will not play, but that's about it. So I look at this and say, well, can Evan keep this rolling? Can Evan be the guy for a full game that he was in the second half on Friday night? Because that would be a very, very good sign for the Cavs. That is something that they need. That is something that I think this offense has been missing. And I thought in that third quarter, and it is, I think, no coincidence that the Cavs obviously did not have a high scoring output. Like 101 points is very, very low in today's NBA game for a full game. And I think it's no coincidence that the quarter Evan was the most aggressive was that third quarter. And that was a quarter they scored 34 points. First quarter, I thought, I don't want to say that he looked passive, because I don't think that would be true, but his shot attempts were not coming from, he wasn't getting to the basket frequently. Cavs scored 22 points. Second quarter, they were great defensively. That's why they were able to crawl back in that game, but they only scored 21 points. The third quarter, they scored 34 points, and Evan Mobley was the driving force behind a lot of that. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think that is what the Cavs need him to look like a little bit more consistently. Now, if this can be the thing that gets him going, maybe he just needed to see Scotty Barnes, because I think if you've watched Evan Mobley long enough, it's very clear that Scotty Barnes is a motivating factor for him. I still don't know how Scotty Barnes won that Rookie of the Year award. I really don't think Scotty Barnes is all that good. I thought he was pretty bad, in fact, for the Raptors on Friday night. But this is the version of Evan Mobley that the Cavs need. This is the guy they need to show up night in and night out. Again, the production is not necessarily always going to be 29, 8, 3 and 1, but I think that, the aggressiveness is the thing that needs to be there. The fact that he was so focused, I think, on getting to the basket in a way that we had not seen in another game so far this year. I think that is the thing to take from this. For me, if he can do that again on Sunday, no matter who's available, that would be the step in the right direction that the Cavs need. And I have talked that the Cavs will get it figured out offensively. I have very little doubt about that. Just knowing who's going to be coming back to this roster and knowing the weapons that they have, they will get it figured out, and they will be one of the 5 best offenses in basketball still, even with this slow start. But they need Evan Mobley to be the guy that he was on Friday night in order to achieve that. And I do think Friday night was a very good first step in doing so. Now, I think somebody else, Jaylon Tyson, had a pretty good night. We're going to talk about him, plus DeAndre Hunter as well, and why I do think there are things other than just a win and loss to take away from tonight. So we'll talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, but every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/your, Y-O-U-R, money. Your money, your move. Today's show also brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip. We're talking exclusive gear. We're talking stuff that you actually want. And it's not just food. You can get everything from snacks and drinks to headphones, ice, even socks, all delivered with DoorDash. So DoorDash has you covered for late night highlights, last minute watch parties, and double overtime fuel up. So the next time someone goes off for 50, use the promo code NBA50, that is NBA50, the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off, up to $10 a day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On Cavs your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. I thought Jaylon Tyson had a relatively good game. Now, he was stronger in the first half than he was in the second half for the Cavs on Friday night against the Toronto Raptors, but he finished with 18 points, 7 of 14 from the field, 4 of 8 from the three-point line, did not get to the line, had 4 rebounds, had 4 assists. Overall, thought it was a good game. Also had 3 blocks in there too. And I think that we are starting to see Jaylon Tyson look more comfortable. If you go back and watch Boston, I thought he was a bright spot in that game too. He was very clearly a bright spot in this game. I think that he plays with the right energy. I think that he's willing to do a lot of the dirty work that needs done. And I think that the Cavs will have a place for that in the rotation. And I know I spoke prior to the season about, the best thing that Jaylon could do while Max Strus is out is make it really, really difficult for Kenny Atkinson to not play Jaylon Tyson when the Cavs are fully healthy. And when the Cavs do get back to full strength, because I assume at some point this team will be fully healthy, I think that is going to be a tough decision, because I think Jaylon has started to understand what his role is. And I think too, one of the things that we're gaining from watching these games where the Cavs are beat up, where they are playing shorthanded, where they are giving guys like Jaylon, even like Craig Porter Jr. extended run, Tyrese Proctor, Thomas Bryant got a lot of minutes tonight. Like, we are seeing guys that when the Cavs are fully healthy, either will not be in the rotation or will be in roles that are minimized compared to what it was for them on a night like Friday. But I look at this and say, well, having that bigger role, even if it's for a short time, and finding success in it, I think can be something that gives a lot of confidence to somebody when they're put into that lesser role later on in the season. Because at some point, the Cavs will need Jaylon Tyson in the playoffs. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, the Cavs are going to win a playoff game this year because Jaylon Tyson. I'm not ready to say that right now. But I do think there will be playoff games where he is needed to play. And I wouldn't expect him to have to play 33 minutes in playoff games. Like, if he is playing 33 minutes in playoff games this spring, it's either he has just developed beyond anyone's expectations this year, or the Cavs are dealing with a lot of, and he shouldn't be asked to do what he's being asked to do right now. But I think when he's asked to do a lesser role, being able to lean back upon these experiences and these confidence building games, because I do think that's what this is for him. I think that is what this can sort of serve as for him, will be a good thing. Like, I think that, yes, the result is, as I said, what the result is, and this is a loss for the Cavs, and that doesn't go away. But I do think that this type of experience for this team will make them better in the long run. I think the fact that they're going through this right now, one, you would so much rather go through this right now than have to go through this in April or May, the way the Cavs did last year. But I think that the Cavs will, because they're going through this right now, because so many guys are being forced to contribute in ways that, they weren't necessarily thought to be asked to do. Like, I think Jaylon knew he was going to be in the rotation at the start of the year. I don't think he had envisioned playing 35 minutes a night and really having to carry some of the offensive load and pick up some of the toughest defensive assignments. Like, I don't think that that was necessarily part of the thought process, because nobody saw these types of injuries coming. But when Jaylon is asked to play 12 minutes, I think he's going to be better equipped to do that in a big game than he would have been otherwise. I think that these experiences for guys like Jaylon, for guys like Craig, who I thought Craig was okay. I thought he made some really big defensive plays, some things that, like the one block shot that he had, it only shows up as one block in the box sheet, but that was a huge play. Or the offensive rebound that he had that led to a Thomas Bryant dunk. Like, that's a really big play. And I think those things will help to prepare this team too. And I think the other thing, it builds trust within the group, because it's not just the guys that they're playing with, but, Donovan Mitchell sitting on the bench watching, Darius Garland sitting on the bench watching, Max Strus, Jarrett Allen, Sam Merrill, like all those guys, just because they're hurt doesn't mean they're not around. Like, they're all sitting on the bench at this game, watching how guys are going about their business, how guys are playing. And I think the fact that those guys, and Jaylon is the one in particular that really stepped up the most, like, I just think that that builds a lot of trust in that locker room. And I think that makes it a good place for them to be when they are called upon, because, like it or not, the Cavs are going to need Jaylon Tyson. The Cavs are going to need Craig Porter Jr. What degrees they need them to, that's up in the air. That's going to depend on what a lot of different things look like down the stretch. But I think that having these experiences, not only individually for guys like that, but for the team as a whole, I think will be a thing that pays off down the stretch. And that's why I said in the first segment, I think that this is a game that 2 months from now, the Cavs win, because I think not everybody's ready right now. And not everybody needs to be ready in October. Not everybody needs to be ready in November, even December. Not everybody needs to be ready. This is, as we learned last year, playing the best basketball at the start of the season doesn't mean anything. Playing the best basketball when it counts means everything. And this loss doesn't prevent the Cavs from winning the title. At the end of the season, I can promise you, we're not going to look back at, man, remember Halloween when they lost to the Raptors? That really cost the Cavs. That's not going to be a thing that happens. So I look at this and say, yeah, it's a loss, but it's a learning experience that I think will benefit this team when it matters. And ultimately, that's a really good thing to be able to take away. The Cavs competed hard. They did a lot of good things. Ultimately, they just didn't have enough, particularly off the bench. Like, if I were to push back on maybe some coaching decisions, like, I'm not sure Luke Travers should have played in this game. And if Luke Travers doesn't play, let's say they give more minutes to maybe Tyrese Proctor or more minutes to Craig Porter Jr. instead of Luke Travers being a minus 14 in 14 minutes. Do the Cavs win this game? Maybe. I don't know. There's no way of knowing, but the Cavs have that experience now. And I think they learned from this game. And yeah, with a team that has championship experience or expectation, I should say, learning from these types of moments, not necessarily the thing that you're looking for, but it's early in the season and it's okay to be doing that. Now, Darius Garland went through a pregame workout on the floor at Rocket Arena. Kenny Atkinson was asked about his status prior to the game. I'll tell you what Kenny said, and just, I think it's starting to get close to Darius Garland being back on the floor. So we'll talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, or maybe you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for your shot at an even bigger payout. And keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making a late push. As I said yesterday, there are no Cleveland Browns to bet against this week, which has become a hallmark of this show for better or for worse. But there is Game 7 in baseball. How about just that electric finish last night where Toronto has two guys on, nobody out, bottom of the ninth, down by 2, and has one of the worst base running blunders I've ever seen. Like, what was the guy on second thinking? Did he think he was going to be able to score on that? How are you that far off the bat? You just took the bat out of George Springer's hands. Pretty dumb, if you ask me. Can they recover? Or Shohei Ohtani on short rest for Los Angeles? Minus 146 on the moon. I think the Dodgers win. I do. I think they win Game 7 in Toronto, and I think baseball goes into maybe some not because of it, but you can get that and so much more with FanDuel. So what you need to do, if you're a new FanDuel customer, head on over to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com, because right now FanDuel giving new customers $300 in bonus bet when your first $5 bet wins. Again, FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On Cavs your first listen, and thank you for making it your first watch on YouTube. If you are watching, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. And Darius Garland did not play in this game. He's not played yet for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but he was asked, or Kenny Atkinson was asked prior to this game about Darius Garland. I want to read what Kenny said, because I think we are getting to the time where it's fair to start watching the injury report. The injury report, of course, will come out today. Typically, it's 4:30 or 5:30. The Cavs put their injury report out the day before a game. And I maybe Darius plays on Sunday. I don't quite know that I want to say that. But here's what Kenny had to say. So he was asked if Darius is close to returning, and Kenny said, close. He had some really good scrimmage time with the G League team, the Cleveland Charge. Today, he goes through the full shoot around, so we're getting close here, really close. And he was asked again, could he play on Sunday? And Kenny said, I don't want to. I'm always cautious about that. I've made that mistake before, and this is just my side. Just watching him on the court, I think there's been no setbacks, not even any soreness or anything. I think he gets frustrated a little that he's not making every shot, and his basketball is maybe a little off right now, but we don't care about that. Just happy so far, so good in terms of everything he's done. He's buying into everything we've asked of him, but I think we're getting close here. And when Darius was with the G League team, that was scrimmaging, like training camp practices, stuff like that, just getting extra work. Like, he was not on the trip to Detroit and Boston because he was back in Cleveland getting work in, which I think is a very good sign that Darius is going to be back sooner than later. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be Wednesday. I don't know the exact date of Darius Garland's return, but I think we're getting very, very close to the point. Like, if he doesn't play within the next 10 days, I'd be very, very surprised at this point. I think Darius is close. And obviously any reinforcements the Cavs can get right now will be a good thing. I just think it's worth bringing up too, that this team is 3-3. The sky is not falling. They will be fine. They have played roughly 30 minutes of basketball with their full rotation that they expected to be able to have. Maybe a little bit more. We're going to say a little bit more. So against Milwaukee, they had everybody basically that they expected. Now, not expecting Darius, not expecting Max, like they had that. And they looked good for the most part in that game. It wasn't perfect. They let the Bucks back into it, but they looked good for the most part in that game. Against Detroit for the first 30 minutes of that game, they had everybody they expected, with the exception of Lonzo Ball. So actually that game, they kind of didn't. But they looked great in that game. They won that. They were leading by 35 points in that game. Just because the Cavs are beat up doesn't mean the Cavs aren't good anymore. The Cavs will be fine. They just need to get healthy. There are things that need to be fixed, but there's a lot of time to fix them. They've played 6 games. They've won 3. They've lost 3. The sky's not falling. The Cavs are going to be fine. Just because a team that was missing 5 of its 8 rotation players lost a game in October does not merit anyone freaking out. And I just think that's a thing that needs to be said. Now, the Cavs are back in action tomorrow night. They are at home again against the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta will not have Trae Young. He left the road trip to go get an MRI. That has not yet been announced, which is maybe not the greatest sign. So we'll see what's going on with Trae Young, but I would not expect him to play against the Cavs on Sunday. It's a winnable game, no matter who is available for the Cavs. Atlanta is a team that has not necessarily got off to the strongest of starts so far this season, so we will see what that brings. But thank you for making today's edition of Locked on Cavs your first listen. Thank you for making Locked on Cavs your first listen every single day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor as we get out of here. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And I'll be back a little bit later talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.